He got finishes all the way up and down. Only the second event in the modern era to ever do that. The other one, of course, was when Bisping fought Rockhold in Australia. But getting back to this one, it was at the Apex, of course. In your main event, BC, Jamahal Hill stopping Thiago Santos in the 4th round at 231. Easily his biggest victory to date. He wants some big names in the division. Now, this was his best win, certainly by name, and the first time he had gone to the 4th round. Is he ready, in your mind, for the top of that division now? When I say top, I mean, let's say top 5 or 6. Top 5, let's say.
Yeah, here's what's interesting. When he called out Jan Blachowicz afterwards, I was like, 3 in a row and you just stop Maheda, who, I know he got subbed by Glover in a fight where he had big success, but you don't really see Maheda get knocked out. Yeah, maybe that is the only place to go now, to the top. 3-fight win streak, as you mentioned, really bounced back great from the Anthony Smith loss. But I thought, Luke, I didn't think of Jamahal Hill on this level coming in. Even if you told me he could win this fight, and I certainly could see the avenues where that was possible. But Luke, to me, it's the way he won it. He went to the deep end of the pool. He swam. This was a grimy, gritty, at times recklessly spectacular fight. And he went in there and did the deed against a guy who, based on recent history in terms of success, certainly going in the other direction following that surgery after the John Jones close fight. But the ultimate elite gatekeeper right now in Maheta. I mean, he could have knocked out Hill with a number of these counter strikes that he landed, typically under duress, because this fight had periods of just incredible batshit craziness. But Luke, to see him take that, to land the more technical strikes, to break him down the way he did, to overcome the wrestling disadvantage. Do I think he's ready, meaning, do I think he can beat Blachowicz or Ankalaev or the champ or Glover? No. He's still going to have to convince me more. But does he belong in that group? Does he deserve this chance to face those guys? Luke, I think after this victory, yes. And of course you can make that argument based on the amount of defeats recently, what that says about Thiago Santos. And Bill Parcells is always going to be undefeated in saying you are what your record says you are. So that's why we all understand Maheta's ready to kick that door and go the other direction. But he is still stubborn as shit to make you have to earn it. And normally that earning it means outpoint him. No, Jamahal Hill didn't do that, Luke. He went in there with him. I'm impressed as shit that he came out the other end looking the way he did and he got this win. He did make a leap forward. This almost sounds like a backhanded compliment to then say, well, do I believe he wins at the next level? No, I don't yet. But I'm on this journey with him now. He has my attention. This was the win he needed to get that attention. He's got it, Luke. You can't take that away from him.
No, you can't. I think I largely agree with your analysis. I thought he was going to win this one, but I thought he was going to win this one in part, BC, because I kind of had an impression that Thiago Santos was going to turn in a lifeless performance. Not true. He turned in, by Thiago Santos' more recent standards anyway, he turned in a pretty commendable performance. He was busy with the leg kicks. In that 3rd round, he was wearing on him with the wrestling attacks and kind of taking his back and holding him down and making them work. Like, he was getting outstruck for sure, especially as he got into closer range in the way that and Jamahal Hill, by the way, I want to talk about his boxing because it's just phenomenal. But, Thiago Santos, we'll talk about him in just a minute, but he turned in a pretty decent performance, all things considered. And so Jamahal Hill beat that guy. To me, that was actually pretty impressive. I will say on the good side about Jamahal Hill, and I'm with you. Like, to me, you had coming into this fight, BC, Santos was ranked 6, Smith was ranked 5. Now, Smith just had a terrible injury that who knows how long he's going to be out for that and what that's going to mean for his fighting future and everything. So if they put Hill in that 5, 6, 7 range, I don't really mind that, which would put him in company with Paul Craig, who has a win over him, Uzdemir and Reyes, right? Those fights seem to make sense to me. On the good side, dude, he's a southpaw. For a southpaw, like a guy who stands southpaw in MMA, he's got one of the most educated right hands in the business. Yeah. His right hook is, what a weapon that thing is. He uses it in all kinds of ways, and it is devastating. His accuracy is good. His hand speed is good. His timing is good. By the way, Jamahal Hill, one of the best in the sport at trying to corner guys, and then when they were resisting too much, he'll hold position and let them walk to him, and then he drills them walking in. He does it all the time to all of his opponents, and they never seem to pick up on it. He's very, very crafty. My one hint of reservation, and it's something I've been talking about with a lot of really good fighters. The guys who can get away with this, there's like 2 or 3 you could even mention, which is to say, here's my reservation about Jamahal Hill. He had an awesome quote at the end of his post-fight speech where he said, you guys keep talking about experience, but you've never experienced anything like me, and I've seen. I'm paraphrasing. I've seen your kind, many times before, something like that, which was a nice little way to stick it to him because this was only his 12th or so fight. But here is my concern for him. It's not his upside. His upside seems to be high, but the next step I think is a little bit unclear to me because his A game, his southpaw boxing / kickboxing game, it's ready to go. He can beat, with that game, if someone accommodated him and fought him on those terms, he could beat anyone in that division. He could beat Yuri in this division. He could beat Glover. He could beat Jan, right? He could. Not guaranteeing it, but it's good enough to beat those guys. The problem is his B game appears to me to be strictly defensive, right? So these guys are developing games where they're really, really good at it, and then they're just kind of ironing out the defense on all the other parts of their game. I think that will only take you so far unless your A game is so dominant, no one can stop it. And I always go back to the same example like Khabib, his sort of wrestling and grappling game. It was so dominant, he didn't need much of a striking game. But I don't see Jamahal Hill on the Khabib kind of over the division level. To me, he's going to need more things. And while he showed good takedown defense, good scrambling, and good defensive wrestling, there was really no offensive component to it. And to me, you are eventually going to have a problem if that is the case. So, while I thought there was a lot to take home that I thought was great, and in particular, he has some of the very best boxing at 205, and I do think he deserves to bump up from 10 to somewhere between 5 and 7 in the rankings, this was legit. I do think that next step, though, those top 5 guys, particularly your Rakic's, your Ankalaevs, maybe even your Teixeiras, they're going to pose a potential problem with the rest of the game that isn't suited to be offensive, strictly defensive.
No, you nailed the exact reason why I still have cause on the next level. Now, about this level, you nailed a lot about his boxing. I think obviously just look at the toughness and the ability to take big shots and come back. He passed a big test. He went deep into the fight. Another pass. I think the thing I take away the biggest is his poise, because there were certain sequences that were out of control, because that's what Maheta does. Maheta is one of the ultimate, let me find out, let me drag you right into the fight or flight scenario. And Hill got dragged into that, but he didn't stay there. You know what I mean? He was poised, and he didn't go into a shell because of it, and he also didn't let his shit go too far and get tagged. So a lot to like about it, but still a lot more we have to see. And the top of this division, for what it lacks in star power at the moment, there's a core. There's a common core group of guys that are freaking hammers. So, Luke, you know the fight I want for him? Because I do think we have a little bit, rightfully so, we do have a little bit of a bottleneck. Like, for example, if it's Prochazka Glover 2 next, which is very possible, and then it's Blachowicz Ankalaev, which is very possible. Obviously, you got Rakic hanging around there, and I do realize that Anthony Smith beat Jamahal Hill, so there's always a potential there for a rematch. But, Luke, how about Dominic Reyes, who's ranked number 7 at the moment? How about that? I know it's one more step sort of in the other direction, but Reyes is still young enough where I'm not sure we've seen his last stand, Luke. I don't think we have. Well, I mean, while that decline was sudden, Dom Reyes eventually is going to come back and be Dom Reyes again, I think. Isn't that a perfect matchup for where they are right now, Luke? To find out who really is, where they belong in the rankings?
I like that one. I think because Reyes can push a pace and mix things up, that would be interesting.
I mean, it doesn't answer your wrestling questions necessarily, Luke, but you can't always pick and choose matchmaking to answer those, you know?
Fair enough. The Paul Craig one is interesting, too, because you've watched the first Paul Craig fight, which I think was like 2019, 2018, something. I think 2019. Craig made it look kind of easy. And so I really wonder how much of his game has developed since then, where that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Like Oezdemir got it done, but he kind of struggled a little bit down the stretch to get it done. I'd be curious to see a rematch there. But on the other side, the Reyes side, yeah, any of those. The Oezdemir fight would be good too, although he's coming up with a
All
win.
right, let me dead wrong myself. For some reason, I keep referencing this Jamahal Hill loss to Anthony Smith. Obviously, it's the Paul Craig one that is sticking out, Luke,
Yes.
The last time I saw him lose.
He got submitted. He got submitted with an armbar. Yeah.
So let me dead wrong myself right now. They didn't fight, right, Luke? Him and Anthony Smith. So that's
No,
also
they're
a
not.
potential. That's also a potential fight in it. Wouldn't that fight better answer the questions then?
Yeah, but Smith just got that really terrible injury at UFC 277, so he's going to be out for a while.
Good point.
Whereas I think Hall's. Excuse me, Hill. If I'm Hill, I'm going to want to stay busy. I think if I'm him, I want to squeeze in one more fight into 2020. Really begin to capitalize on this momentum that he's got. Really begin to push. Yeah, you can see here against Paul Craig, he got his elbow dislocated, kept fighting, and then eventually the ref realized that it was completely fucked and they had to let it go. This is to me why it's like he was very defensive against Thiago Santos, which is by itself not a problem, and then getting submitted by Paul Craig. It's like, dude, how good is this kid striking? Very good. He's very, very good at that. But the other parts of his game, for me to really believe he can contend for a title, dude, Glover Teixeira, I mean, whatever else you want to say about him, how old he is and how shop-worn he is, my man has good takedowns. He knows how to find the clinch, and on top, he will pass your fucking guard. He will do it, and he will pound on you from mount. Like, that is a real serious threat that he has to contend with. Ankalaev can do it too. So, you know, I just don't know if he's ready for that given what I've seen. But any kind of test short of that in that space you're describing, I'd be happy with any of them.